complete opposite where I work.
Okay.
It's like you spend more on marketing.
Generally, I've heard just take what you do and then double what you do and then
if not more.
The only thing you have to understand with that is you have to qualify that term, marketing. Some people assume marketing is buying ads or putting a banner out.
I just meant,
marketing, for example, marketing can also be constituted as a budget of paying to go to an event like this. Your travel, your airfare, the food, the people involved, like housing paid for. Stuff like that is considered marketing, especially if you're going to a location to specifically show your film. That's marketing. That's not return. So
these are the best things. You can go places, pass them out. Coffee shops, anything.
So, are there any other questions?
Well, I'd like to answer that real quick. I lost it. Sorry.
Sam.
Okay, so obviously YouTube, Facebook, very, very important. Have there been any sites that were kind of a waste of time in your experience? Is there something that you try to focus on?
I get a lot of work through LinkedIn, but
LinkedIn has been amazing for me.
But the thing is, LinkedIn is insanely huge, and there's a variety of scenarios on LinkedIn where it just becomes an overload. Stage 32 is fantastic. If you're
Indie Series Talk.
Yeah, actually, oh yeah, that's a great one too. I was about to say one, but that has nothing to do with it.
I think we just stay away from the ones that don't work.
If it doesn't work for you, don't
know about it.
If it doesn't work for you, don't.
What is the best way to, or I guess, to get the most from those free networking sites, like Facebook and things such as that? How do you get the most out of those?
Interaction.
That's right.
Don't
just post ads. That's good.
Right. Don't post ads. Comment on your
Comment on your friend. Be a part of the community. Don't just be a carnival barker at somebody's forum.
Here's an example that I would say. For example, so like we have multiple Twitters, multiple Facebooks, LinkedIn, and like Stage 32 and a few other sites. So we'll utilize them in a way that they interconnect automatically, so that any one thing you say automatically goes across all of them to save yourself a lot of time.
Save yourself time.
You gotta be careful in doing that too.
No, yeah. I'm not talking about, like, for example, there's simple ways and simple tools online that you can learn how to do this right. Otherwise, you're gonna get like 5 posts on every website that's the same thing. I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about one post that automatically can feed through all and help generate information across the board. Because you'll have certain people on there that are not on the others.
That would be the most general information.
Right. And that would be in terms of the social media. That's one way to do it. For this weekend, it was like helping my colleagues learn how to use hashtags, how to utilize things like that properly to make sure that certain words and keywords that are important, that are not stupid and pushed or forced to work for you. Things like that are things that you want to do.
Just to add to that, don't constantly say, check this episode, check this episode, check this episode, check this episode.
Make sure that your content is fresh, original, and specific. Very specific.
Do shoot some bonus materials, put it on.
That's right. And what you need to do is, if you do, I hate Twitter and I hate Facebook because it's just a mess to me. If you're not going to do it yourself, get somebody to do it for you. Either hire it's a social media producer, is what the title is. It's a new position that even the big companies are using.
Or your savvy buddy.
Or a good friend. My wife, she can do it for me.
By show of hands, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
By show of hands, how many of you have heard? How many of you have heard of a website called Fiverr? Fiverr. Okay, Fiverr. You could literally get a social media manager for $5 a week to monitor and specifically make sure that your target media is. And there's a lot of guys out there, but you could research them, look at them. There's stuff like that. It's $5. And that's what Fiverr is. It costs $5 to do this, and so on. So check stuff out like that.
If you're talking about a niche market too. Talk about things other than your show.
Yes.
Right? So over here, Standard Action Man.
Hey, just a quick question, because like I hear you guys, talking about a lot of these things, and I work in 2 jobs. I sleep 6 hours a night. I know where you're coming from, and a lot of the things you guys are talking about either cost money or time. And like we've got someone running our social media, but like, how do you guys pay rent? Like, but in the first 8 years before it was successful, because we're not really it's not making us any money. It's still a huge drain of funds.
Good question. You guys love it. You got it.
I have a specific answer for that.
Credit cards.
Give blood. You can give blood often enough.
There's a gentleman that I work with. He's not necessarily on the indie side, but his example will work, and it's a similar example that I use for myself as well, because I don't work for any company. All I do is this. His name is Ruben Langdon. He has a company that does everything from motion capture to build FMVs for video games and whatnot. But he'll still go out and he'll do voice work. He'll still go out and do IVRs. He'll still go out and audition for stunts. He'll still go out and do mock-ups of himself for brand games. Things that will pay the bills.
Something recruit a fan to do it for you.
Well, there's things like that. Like in my case, for example, I do well with what I do, but like I'll take on like voice directing jobs that'll pay like $1,500 a week. just to continuous voice work jobs.
The one thing you guys are saying though is like a lot of these are media jobs that sound very fulfilling, but like I've had zero luck getting any money from any of that. Like I'm working as a web designer right now, and it's like, well, are you guys making normal?
Oh, absolutely. Let me give you an example. It's something maybe you can piggyback off of. I studied the piano. I've been paying my rent working 1 day a week for the last 10 years as a church organist.
Really?
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
And you know what? I'm not particularly religious, but 1 day a week to pay.
So you guys have normal stuff going on. That's
But,
good to know.
so, I mean, find a specific skill that you have that might be somewhere out there that there's a demand for, swallow your pride, and if that gives you the time to do the
You
other
guys are
stuff.
also living in Expressville, Canada, so move to my town.
As an example as well, for a couple of months over like last year, I had a humongous amount of medical bills because I'm a recent cancer survivor, and it was close to $500,000 worth in experimental treatment because I didn't go through chemo. And a lot of profit money in the bank had to go to covering this sort of thing. And in certain scenarios where I'm waiting on percentages to come back from a production or a royalty in this or a royalty in that or 45 days later for a voice job, I took some of the talents that I have in the video game industry and I went and I coached in a university, and then they hired me to come on and teach project management for game design. So things like, and I do that twice a week, and that's like 16 hours.
So in a nutshell, you're looking for big bang jobs for the buck, minimal time, take a bit of time away from your industry even if you have to. You're looking at reduce your overhead on your expenses. Don't live in a loft. Understand that you're going to be eating dirt for a while. Don't go out and buy the most expensive things. Live that life of an artist for a while, and then when your overhead's done, you can pay less, right? And then therefore you need to make less, so you have more time to work your craft. Over here.
I was just wondering, as a young filmmaker, I hear you guys talking about web series and VOD and stuff like that. Is when you talk about audience, like, should you be in the mindset of like pandering towards these things? Like, if you want to distribute like your content through somebody else, like let's say Netflix, for example, or I would
Let me say this. That's a good. You want to do a test of whatever it is you're doing, even if you get it in the script form. You don't even have to shoot yet. But when you get your script, you can get your friends together. Do a script reading. Or not your friends. Get somebody you don't know.
Table reads are fantastic.
Do a table read and invite some people you don't know.
Yeah, throw a party. Well, a party.
And see what the reaction
invite everybody and then promote it there.
This goes back. You guys know you have to work with your film community. Even if you're in a small town, you need to network with as many people. There's any type of film forums, get on those.
You don't have to move to home.
Here's the one thing also I want to also don't forget, we haven't mentioned this yet, but contests. Contest. Game Nights is on MakeMySeries.com where it's a contest for $10,000 of budget money for our next season. And we just scoured the internet, sit there and look for contests, submit, whether it's to Netflix, like you said, Hulu, a contest, like,
But read the terms of service to make sure you're not giving your rights away.
Obviously, don't do it. That's where the entertainment lawyer comes in. But
and there's and in Seattle we have IndieFlix, which is a company that distributes. It's kind of like Netflix, but independent films.
Although they're not as effective as they were a year ago.
Pardon?
They're not as effective as they were a year ago.
No, they used to take anything that went to a festival, but they started getting some things that were really bad. So now they're screening them a lot more particular. They don't do web series though, but that's what.
Well, they do if you talk to them right.
Yeah.
Well, like Hulu, a company out there that's actually working, in the words of one of the developers of that, they're desperate to get new content. It's going to drive traffic.
Amazon.
If you're not familiar with Crackle, if any of you have a PS3, log into the internet, and you're going to see a button that says YouTube right next to it, says Crackle. You're like, what the hell is that? Click it. It's a bunch of free movies and all kinds of distributed material because they're the ones that pay the creation for it. A lot of it is original. Though that company, there's some stuff that we're working with them on now. You still have complete control. They're specifically like the Hulu, Netflix for the independent market. Yep. So like they literally allow you to do whatever the heck you want as long as it's something that they think they can market. And they have an inbuilt 250 million person user, at least as it's considered, because they're on PS3, they're on Xbox, and they're on the Wii. So it's automatic. Crackle. So this is something that you absolutely should look at because and I'm sorry, I apologize. The thing in regards to them, like I said, an inbuilt market. PS3 has 77 million users, Xbox has 65 million users, and the Wii has literally about somewhere in the venue like 35 to 40 some odd million users. All that together combined, the advertiser doesn't necessarily know that you are watching the Crackle, but Crackle says we have these users because they already exist as an embedded software portal. So automatically they have discretionary funds just to create pilots, to create series, and they've been doing this a lot.
And this is again 14, and his friends talk about Crackle. I mean, wasn't that
Yeah, I mean, look up Trenches. Trenches is something that's completely funded by them, and it's an independent work.
The big thing I toss out with all of those, though, is that's exposure. It's reaching an audience. Bake into your video itself the messaging to drive that audience back to you. Like, we are on Hulu, and having that message, that fan-supported thing, at the end of the thing on Hulu. So many people came in and became big contributors because of that. So bake your message into your video.
You want them to follow to your site, not just the activator who got them to see the first bit of your content.
Anyone else here feel like they've been hit with a gust of wind? We gotta make these panels longer, eh? So, are there any other questions? I think we have time for one more question at the rate of our answering. We'll go back here.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the difference between doing series versus doing individual films.
Like as in like a feature film, more or less?
From a distributor
from a marketing and distribution point of view?
Yes, we do features and shorts, and you guys.
The difference is the contrast between.
I did television series, and I played in the feature film market for a while, and I played in the web series world for a while, and they're all very vastly different. My perspective on it is probably not one to get into right now because it's different. I think working because my markets are different than the independent markets at this point. So you guys can sort of talk a bit about the difference. But when I was doing the feature film market, it was it's a tough run.
It's more. I think it's more competitive in the film world.
Very definitely more competitive.
Yeah. The short answer, everything we've talked about here, in essence, is essentially what you do on the independent side. A lot of it is really on you. That's the whole concept of independent. And that's you have complete and utter control. There's so many abilities and tools that are
available. You can showcase your talent.
If you can create something that is, say you want to create a feature film, have it so that it is, like a root, like it can be broken down and repurposed. So you have a feature film, repurpose it as a show, repurpose it as a web series,
Or think about it the other way, like every season of our show, we write it so that it can be recut as a feature that can be marketed in all those pieces, and then your web series become. And then when you release your DVD, release it as a feature, value-added material, drives more people.
That's right. Add special, the 5 episodes of our series is going to be one feature film, just like these guys did, and it's just a great model to work with. But you have to write in 5-minute increments, so that you can.
We're seriously considering taking one of our features that we've done and breaking it down into a website.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the exact opposite. If you can't get the feature film going, then this is what I found in the feature film world, is that if you can't get your feature film going, and it's just basically you're hitting wall after wall, one of the ways to do it is just bust it down into a web series and fire it out as a web series and get it out there. If it's 120 minutes, you can break it down into half-hour episodes, 20-minute episodes, and go as a television series. From the 22-minute episodes, you can break that down into 3 7 to 8-minute episodes and do a web series. So you can really tear it down and hit different audiences with the same show.
And don't do a feature film when you're starting out over 2 hours because it won't show on TV.
And here's the major difference in distribution marketing between the two that I see is one is this. Basically, with a web series, you have to constantly create content and release content. If you go 6 months without releasing any content, you are losing a vast majority of your audience. Now, as a filmmaker, you're getting it all at once.
Unless you can, for example, get a collaborative group of multiple producers together so that you're staggering your releases.
Well, that's
you
what I'm
can
saying.
drive
you can
the audience
do
one to the
interviews,
next.
you can do a podcast, and release content. It doesn't have to be the show. It doesn't have to be the movie. It could be a book review. It just has to be in the world of what you're
with features, with series, essentially, it's always more. There's a lot more material to disseminate as you continue per episode, per series. But with features, you don't necessarily, I think what most people on the independent side with features is they tend to focus until they have a lot of material to show or near the end of the creation. There's a lot of things that you can do to market specific feature before the film is even completed, even as we're starting at a development level.
Hopefully, everyone.
Well, speaking about features and shorts that are not web series, just ultimately, I think we want a good product. And if you're gonna do a niche film, send it to festivals that are niche. Don't send a horror film to Sundance, you know, send it to, you know, the Mile High.
Find your audience.
Yeah.
Find your audience.
If you're sending a horror film to Sundance, make it some mumble, make sure it's mumble.
Yeah, making sure it's like,
So thank you for attending the panel. We have a lot to say. We're the shit, you're the flies. Flock to us, we'll tell you everything.